you very much for attending the event. We've got Nick Bramley with us, who's going to run the session. And it's basically, I'm not going to go too much into it because I'll let Nick obviously do a proper introduction, but we're just going to go through a few things to do with virtual networking and networking in person for hopefully when we might be able to get back to that at some point. So yeah, I'll pass over to Nick unless there's anything else that you want to say, Sally.
Thanks all for joining. I know it's getting trickier and trickier in the evenings now. Like everyone's had enough of being online, but I think we've got to embrace it, haven't we? And hopefully we'll pick up some good tips on how to network virtually and in person tonight.
So no pressure there then, Sully. Thank you very much. Well, my name's Nick Bramley. I am a business development and sales professional, trainer, consultant. I'm all about improving performance in the client businesses that I work in, do a lot of work in white collar, do a lot of work in construction, M&E and that kind of area. And one of the things that most people have got in their locker in some way, shape or form is a bit of networking. When we were allowed to, going into that room full of strangers and, the palpitations of shaking hands with people you didn't know and all those things. And now it's gone virtual. It's gone virtual since last March. If I'm honest with you, you'll probably tell from my tone as I go through it. Not a massive fan of the virtual, but we've got to have the opportunity to make the most of it for our skill sets and for our confidence, because it's the only show in town at the moment. We're going to cover two areas. We're going to cover the virtual first, and we're going to then cover some practicalities of when we're allowed back into the real world. But before we do both of those, we're going to talk about networking principles in general. So I'm going to start with what networking starts with. So networking for me starts with having a networking strategy, simple as. And a networking strategy is something that makes you decide whether you're going to participate or not. So is this for me? Am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? So has anyone got a networking strategy, whether it's the back of a fag packet or something formal, something on the wall next to you that inspires, whatever you've got, have any of you got a networking strategy whatsoever?
In terms of when I go into a room, I've learned to not put too much pressure on myself, and if I can walk out of an event with one or two new contacts, then I class that as an achievement.
I'm going to go before that though, Sully. I want to know what makes you go to the room or not go to the room in the first instance, because the strategy itself decides on the thing with networking. It's always a commitment of time and effort. And, there's other things you could be doing. So we always get distracted to a certain extent by what we could or couldn't be doing. I call it the opportunity cost of going or not going, really. And if you've not got a networking strategy, I'm going to share with you something that works really well. It's a simple plan to decide if it's worthy of your time and consideration. And there's a pretty easy theme to this. The first three: where, when, and how. So where is it? Is it online? Where is it physically when we get back into the real world? When is the timing on that? Now, I'm a morning person, always have been. I had a paper round when I was a kid. I did a milk round when I was a kid as well. I've always been an early bird. Morning sessions don't bother me. This time of night doesn't bother me. A bit later than this, I'm past my sell-by date. So some people won't be morning people. I'm not going to ask because I can't see all of the screen. But I'm going to say that some of you probably not natural morning people. So you'd look at it and go, am I really going to commit to a 7 o'clock start to represent me and my business in a room full of strangers and come away from that really well? The other thing is in terms of how does this thing work? So what I call the first part of this, and you will get a copy of the slide deck, you don't have to write everything down, is the logistical argument about am I going to go? Where is it? When is it? And how does it work? What's the format? What's the structure? The last three, which follow a theme, are why would I want to go? What do I want to get out of it? A bit like Sully said there, I want to get out of it. It'd be great if I came out with a new contact and opportunity, something to explore. And as importantly, who's going to be in there? And I call that your emotional attachment. So in other words, I quite like the logistics. I can get there. It works for me. The timing's okay. I don't mind the structure. But the wrong people are going to be in the room, or I'm not sure why I'm going, so I won't bother. So you've got to think about those two things first of all. Pardon me. And the next thing you got to think about the who's in the room is the types of people you want to meet. And this is really important because you're not going to give up your time to meet people who are time wasters in your diary or no opportunity for you to work with. So I've got a few things here in terms of, I always start with kind of what target audience do you want by type? Are you looking for small businesses, startups, micro businesses, mid corporates, multinational? A lot of people say, I want to work with corporates and multinational corporate clients because that's our target audience for our business. In reality, folks, very few of those are often represented at networking events. Networking in this country is dominated by SMEs, small businesses and micro businesses. And that's okay if that's who you want to be in touch with. But why would you give up 2 hours of your time in the hope that there's a multinational corporate or a corporate in the room? And the same goes with the sort of structure of the business, really. You know, are you looking to meet people who are pre-start, new start, sole traders, owner managers, partnerships, cooperatives, social enterprises? And some of those types of businesses are represented more at specific types of networks. So what I mean by that is you'll often find owner managers, you'll often find partnerships, but you'll find a lot of sole traders, you'll find a lot of new starts. If you want to work with social enterprises, you probably have to go to a specialist social enterprise kind of networking event that's aimed at them. So whether that's a conference, an exhibition, or something of that nature. So it starts with that who, what, why, where, when, how. And thinking about that, what you're going to think about there is, how do we then decide how much of our time is used? So I add into that job role, I add into that seniority. So I'm going to ask you a question just randomly. David, no, and then I'm going to go to Jamie and then Michelle James, okay? Who's a sweet spot type of person that would be valid and valuable to you, David, if you met them? You know, what job title, what type of sector, what size of business? Unmute for me, David. Sorry, that's I do have a t-shirt with that on. I did say earlier, but I haven't worn it tonight. Unmute bottom left. That was my, you know, people said last year's phrase was pivot or unprecedented. It wasn't. It was unmute bottom left.
I spent the whole time laughing at everyone else doing that.
That's okay. It's easily done, David. So give us an idea of a sweet spot type of client or size of business or type of sector that you would think actually it's worth meeting them.
So it's primarily the design sector, the design and build sector, and it would be QSs and designers who we try to target. Okay,
so those are probably going to be something quite specialist for the sector. So it's, you know, it could be a CIOB, it could be a federation of master builds, it could be something from the, like yourself, a specialist like the FFT, any of those. But you're not likely to see those people at very many general networking events. You know, the Chambers of Commerce where there's a solicitor and a florist next to a whatever it might be. So you're probably thinking about specialist events where those people are going to be represented, which makes it worth your while. Okay. I'm just going to ask Jamie one question. Jamie, morning or afternoon person? When are you at your best? Unmute for me.
Definitely a morning person, I think.
Excellent. So if you were invited to a networking event at 7 in the morning, that wouldn't bother you. You'd be quite okay and happy to, and you'd feel like you'd represent yourself quite well, you know, without growling at people because you haven't had enough caffeine or whatever. I'm looking around the room, people who are probably exactly opposite to you on that basis, but thank you for that. I will ask, who's your sweet spot client as well, the type of people that you want to meet?
I guess for me, it'd probably be land managers. They're typically great sources of work for us in the type of work that we do. And that's kind of in the construction sector, kind of land and development promotion, that kind of thing.
So again, a bit like David, and I suspect most of you probably going to have to go to something specialist, something for an institute. There's an institute for everything, as you probably know. Some of their institute events are probably the ones you're going to have to attend rather than the ones that are more generic and general. Okay, thank you for that. Michelle, you smiled when I said morning and afternoon person. Are you a morning person, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm morning, but I'm also late afternoon, early evening. It just depends on the event and who's going to be there, I suppose.
So we're not going to invite you to lunch anywhere then. Just that middle bit's rubbish. Great in the morning, great in the afternoon, terrible.
No, if you invite me to lunch, that's it for the rest of the day. So
Right.
no, it depends. I go to a lot of industry networking events, but because I'm more of a commercial operations director, I can flip between the two. So there'll be a networking session that might start at sort of 7 o'clock in the morning, which will be for a bank institute, for instance, because the finance side of that is interesting for me, for our business. Lunch event might well be a construction event, sort of, that there's a whole range of those, as everybody probably on here realizes. And then you'll have an FB dinner, or you'll have a concrete society lunch or dinner. And again, I'll be on a table with a mixed range of individuals, from maybe an accountant to a solicitor, maybe to actually a regional director for, a large construction firm.
But
because
some of those solicitors and accountants could well be good introducers, because their clients could be the people you want to talk to. And that's the sort of wider picture of networking to a certain extent. What I would say, though, you didn't put your hand up when I said you got a strategy. That sounds pretty much like a damn good strategy to me, Michelle. Who's going to be there? When is it? Does it fit? And it doesn't need to be any more than that. So I like the thinking behind that, Michelle. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay. And we'll just avoid the lunch bits, I think. We won't invite you to lunch. Okay. So I'm going to talk about COVID and what it's done. And the reality is it's stopped people being as prepared as they would be going networking before. We've all done it. When you go networking physically, you're leaving your office, you're going out, you're leaving out, you're going out. So there's a certain almost preparation requirement, isn't there, for that? Because I'm going out and I'm going to be at risk of not being prepared. So there's a natural preparedness. That doesn't seem to have transferred so much to online networking. It's just a Zoom call. I just dive on. So I just dive on the Zoom call and I'll be okay. So I'm going to talk to you about not winging it, just having some early sort of preparation. So first thing is, what am I letting myself in for in terms of the format? Is it just networking on a room, on a Zoom? I went to a networking event. I go to a number online because I want to get research and see what's out there and see what platforms are working. I went to one called Brand Yorkshire, which is there was 28 people. And everyone sat around the room and we all got like 2 minutes to present. Whoa, there's an hour I'll never get back. Just listening to 27 people plus you doing a 2-minute presentation, many of which were poor, because they were poor before they were online. They're even worse when they're less interactive and engaging. So what am I letting myself in for? What's the platform? What's the structure? What's the timing? This is important. I'll explain why in a minute. Is the host flexible to what you want to get out of the event? Because I want to talk about not going to an event and just following the herd. If you follow the herd, you won't stand out. In a room full of Zoom, it's very difficult to stand out. We'll explain how you can do that shortly. Can I get an advanced guest list? Who's going to be there? Who can I do some prep with? Can I connect with them on LinkedIn beforehand? So, you're going, David, you don't know Jamie Donegan, you don't know Sully Gardner, they're going to be there. Send them a little note to say, hey, I'm going to be at this event, same as you, any chance we could connect. It starts off conversation. Let people know you're planning on attending. And going back to the platform, you need an event structure that allows breakouts and conversations and one-to-ones. If you're in a networking room physically, it wouldn't all be you're all talking to each other at the same time, or only one person's talking over 28 people. So you need to talk in advance with the organizers. Does the platform allow David and myself to have a quick one-to-one conversation over here? Are there breakout rooms? Is it going to help us to work properly? And the other thing I say is with networking online or elsewhere is, plan to arrive early or at least on time. First of all, in online versions, it's quite hard for the host to be hosting and then keeping an eye on letting people in the room. It's quite distracting. But also, what if the conversation is a good opportunity beforehand? I'm gonna slap some of your wrists now, because when we came into the room earlier, there wasn't much networking going on. I appreciate I was talking to Seth, I was talking to other people, but there wasn't much, yeah, hi, how are you? No one's put anything in the chat. It's almost like you've walked, would you walk into a room in a networking situation live and stand there and say nothing? You wouldn't. But we sort of do that when we come onto a Zoom call. For some reason, it's almost like I can't be myself. I can't contribute in some way, shape or form. So what happens with online is, and this is why I'm not a fan particularly, is some of them, the challenges are quite difficult to overcome. So the first one is the hosts themselves. A lot of people have been thrown into being a host of a networking event. So what they try and do is they try and replicate the event in its live format, like this 28 people doing a 2-minute presentation. Who the hell thought that would be an interesting watch for the other 27 people? It's not great in a room, but at least you've got other things you can look at and you can do a bit of body language checking. But in this case, poor skills. You've also got poor skills for the people who are attending. So maybe they're not technically capable. It's almost like a Last of the Summer Wine sort of episode sometimes. Am I on mute? Is a camera on? Can you hear me? All that kind of thing goes on. And it really is quite distracting when you look at it and go, we've been doing Zoom and Teams for nearly a year. Somebody somewhere must be able to work out how to use it, or if you're not, get some training. Bandwidth and video and sound quality are an issue, but this is what it's about, duplicating or trying to duplicate the in-room structure, and it just simply doesn't work as a transference. So we get distractions, we get maintaining momentum, and then we get that fixed event for the attendee. So what I mean by that is the attendee themselves doesn't have any ability to influence the room, the opportunity, the structure. It's just you're told it's your turn now, Sully. It's your turn now, David. It's your turn now, Jamie, etc., etc. Because you're told that's how it works. And I wouldn't join something that I thought has a very limited opportunity to engage. You wouldn't go to a networking room where they made you stand like a statue and say nothing, would you? So why would you do that online? You need to think about there's a lot of people doing some good stuff now because the platforms have changed. There's a development in the platforms in terms of what's accessible and the flexibility. I went to a networking event a little while ago. It was slightly pretentious in the fact that I was a guest speaker and they called me up to the stage by sending a virtual limousine for me. It was a bit sort of, bit weird, but the room was laid out with tables. You could move around the tables quite easily. You could move around and meet different people, and they were trying the best to do something that was interesting. So the question I've got for you is, how can you as a guest, potential guest, influence a networking event as just a guest? So Hannah, you've been invited somewhere. How can you then go, Hannah Gillette? How do you pronounce it?
It's Gillett.
Gillett, okay. So it's not like the shaving cream, it's Gillett. No. Okay. No. Hannah Gillett, been invited to a networking event. You want to get something out of this, Hannah, but the networking event might be a little bit rigid for you, and it might be a little bit predictable. It might be a little bit structured. How can you get something out of it for Hannah if that function isn't necessarily there? Any ideas?
I don't know. I'm quite new to the networking events, really. I'm quite new to the company, so I don't know. I just try and just talk to people. Sometimes it's hard, but just put yourself out there into groups of people and just got to introduce yourself. It can be a bit awkward, can't it? But yeah,
it's even more awkward face to face, by the way, because it's a natural instinct to go into a room and feel a bit nervous. It's less nerve-wracking for most people, to be fair, on Zoom or on virtual, because it doesn't feel the same. You're not really invested. You're sort of there, but it doesn't. If Jamie's feeling a bit uncomfortable, he'll just press his camera off, and nothing we can do about that. Whereas he wouldn't just go into a networking room, think I feel uncomfortable, and just put a bag over his head or leave, would he? You have to go through that process face to face. The way to deal with it, the way to get what you want to get out of the networking event, and I'm going to show you this screen because I quite like it, is hijack the meeting. Okay, it doesn't mean that you take control and upset the organisers, but you want to get something out of this particular event, and you want to get something out that works for you. So let's talk about, I don't want to stay strangers with too many people. I want to make an impression and I want to be memorable, because in a room full of people on Zoom and equally face to face, the key to networking is Maria. Who was she again? I can't remember what she did. James Elliott. I met a guy called James. He was quite interesting, but not sure. Was he the guy who did this, or was he the guy who did that? I'm not sure. And who's this Daniel Landing? Daniel. I vaguely remember. You can't be that person. You can't be the non-memorable, follow the herd, be the same as everybody else. So you're trying to create an opportunity to follow up. And I think what I liked about, somebody said earlier, I can't remember who it was, who said, it might actually been you, Sully. I want to get something out of this. You know, you've got to be able to create an opportunity to follow something up, haven't you? So you're looking, this is my agenda, if you like, and I want it to be productive use of my time. I don't want to think, God, this is terrible, I want to leave, it's boring, whatever it might be. So I'm going to start now giving you some online tips, and I'm going to have a little dig at a few of you already, okay? Just for fun, because I'm from Yorkshire. Clothes. Can I find you on a busy Zoom screen? Let me have a look. I can't find Lauren because she sat in the dark. I can't find Siaf because he's blended into his background. Andrew looks like they're either curtains or he's next to a nice Christmas tree. Daniel sort of looks like he's in a hostage video. No, I'm only joking, but what I'm saying to you is, on a busy screen, can you be found? And most people, a bit like when we put clothes on to go networking, I've got a few networking shirts. My daughter used to say to me, you know, she's at uni now, when she was at home, she'd go, "Are you going networking, Dad?" I say, "Yeah, why?" "No, okay, I can tell." You know, because lots of blues, whites and greys in a room. It's the same on here. Wear something that stands out on your Zoom call. So James, I can spot, he's got a headset. He's a pro. Charlie, a pro. Look at them, they've got headsets. Now, it doesn't mean they're any better than anybody else, but I'm going to go, "Oh, James, he's the guy with the headset on." I'm looking for James, he's got a headset on. Absolutely fine, okay? Now, this is the one I'm going to say to two people in the room, well done. So I'm going to say to Roxanne, well done. I'm going to say to Charlie, well done. Why have I chosen Roxanne and Charlie to say well done to? Anyone got an idea? Put your hand up if you want to share with me why I've chosen them to say well done to.
They haven't. Oh.
Andrew, go on, Andrew Brown.
They're nicely lit.
No, well, no, that's fine. That's fine. Lighting's one thing. That's absolutely okay. But yes, Sully.
They've actually put their company or something about them, not just their name.
Absolutely right. Now, I have no idea. Siaf, we've had a lovely conversation. I have no idea where you work or what you do, where you're from, whatever. Andrew, Daniel, David, whatever. Okay, none of you. I don't know where you're from. Now, there's ways of doing that. Some people have a backdrop which pulls up, which got the branding on it. Some people have the electronic backdrop, which is just basically looks like it's a bit quite messy. But you can all change your name. So what I want you to do is go to your little box that you're in. There's 3 buttons in the top right hand. Just scroll over your box. There's 3 buttons and click on that and change it. Look at that. David Noel, straight away. Bang. Dead easy. David Noel, Artwork Solutions. That's a conversation starter, David. I don't know what Artwork Solutions do, but I know full well I want to inquire. I know full well I want to have a conversation about it, as opposed to David Noel, I don't know where you're from. 3 buttons, change. Now, Andrew Brown, you've got too long a name for your business. So just drop the Brown. The Brown's a second name for people to forget. I'd rather it was Andrew from Buckley Gray, and I presume Yeomans or somebody, is it? Yeoman, yeah, okay. I couldn't think of another word that began with Yeo, so I was okay with that. I'd rather have Andrew from Buckley Gray and Yeoman than Andrew Brown, Buckley Gray, Yo. Whatever fits on. Daniel, you're lucky. I thought that might not fit on, but you put the plus in there. So Barkin and Kirby, LLP. The Urbanist, I'm intrigued, Jamie. So I'm going to have a conversation with people and go, what the hell are the Urbanists? Integral Engineering, you're okay with that, Maria, but again, your surname's a surname that's one too many to forget potentially. People just, it's Maria, Integral Engineering. If it doesn't fit on, So Michelle, I now know that you work with Jamie. I had no idea. I mean, you're in the same hostage video as him with the same background sort of thing, but you know, I had no idea. I don't know what Litchfields are, but I'd like to know. Artwork Solutions, so you're a colleague of. See what I mean by the impact that makes straight away. Oh, there's a few urbanists on the call. Lauren's on the call. Urbanists as well. Conversation pieces. Think about putting your name on there. Now, my hold avatar. If I go on stop video, I've got my little hold avatar, which is a flattering. I couldn't do one with less hair. They don't do one with less hair. My daughter created that for me. But what I say to a lot of people is, because I'm hosting, it doesn't matter. What about putting your business card there? Instead of just your name, you can put that on your Zoom settings. So when you click off and go on hold video, it's got Charlie Moss interaction. It's got David from Artwork Solutions. It's got your contact details on there. So when you are on hold, you've nipped off, you've decided to extract yourself from the session, you've still got your business card. You can put your business card as your holding avatar on that basis. Oh, someone's put something in chat. Right, I'm not that impressed. Let's have a look. Ask a relevant question and open it to the Zoom for comments. What's that from Michelle? Right, okay. Now, I say that in a networking event online, the chat function is your follow-up opportunity. So, a couple of things I'll say to people. First of all, the host, if you're hosting an event, it's a good thing getting the practice of doing Roxanne and Sully to say to your guests, welcome to FFT. Would you put your contact details in the Zoom chat function, please? The best way to do that is just put your LinkedIn URL in there. Or if you want to put your name and your phone number and your website, your inside leg measurement and where you live and all that, but whatever you want to put in there. Because I've met James Ellett from Hydrock and I've met Lauren Phillips from the Urbanists. But at the moment, that's it. I've got no method of following James up or Lauren up, or Daniel hasn't got a chance to follow up Jamie, and Maria can't talk to Siath because we're just all on a screen. So the chat function is your opportunity to put your information out there. What I'm going to say about the chat function is this. Once you put your details in chat, encourage others to do it and just say, and I would say, if I'm about taking control, I go to a networking event and I'd say to the organisers, Roxanne, sorry, is this one of those where we all put our name and stuff in chat, is it? Roxanne will go, oh, yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah, it is, yeah. Okay, that'd be great. So everyone starts putting the names and details in chat. None of you have, by the way. Oh, there you go, some going in there, thank you. And what we do, and the most important thing to do at the end of the chat, at the end of the event, is just copy and paste the whole of the chat. So that's your follow-up. So you basically go into chat, Control and A gets it all, Control and C copies it, and then Control and V into a Word document. There's your follow-up. Now, you're not going to follow everybody up, but Siath might really say, I could do with speaking to Hannah from Litchfields. I was on a call with her the other day. Where the hell? Oh, yeah. Let's find the details. Let's connect on LinkedIn. So it's really about making sure that you're using the facility. This is your business card exchange, really, on an online platform. Does that make sense? So there's a few putting it in there. It's dead easy to do, and just make sure you scrape it at the end in terms of getting that information, or ask the organisers for that. So the other thing is ask for shared screen access, and I'll explain that shortly, what you want shared screen access for. So at some stage in your networking situation, someone's going to say, Andrew from Buckley Gray Yeoman, tell us about yourself. Siath from Artwork Solutions, you're on, tell us about your business. My favourite phrase is this, I use the picture of the Queen. Apparently the Queen just spends her life going down a line going, and what do you do? That's the only impression I'm going to do all night. So that she meets Charlie with the headphones on and goes, and what do you do? You've got to be able to articulate that really, really effectively, even more so in a Zoom situation than in a face-to-face situation, because it's harder to stand out. So I'm going to talk to you about what we did with this 28 people doing the presentations, and I was the only one who did this, and afterwards everybody said to me, I wish I'd done that. What a great idea. I'm going to tell you what I wish I'd done that was, okay? First of all, before I do that, let's talk about a simple pitch structure. It's a 3-stage process, and get into the habit of thinking about, why should I work with you? So that might be a strap line or a simple statement. Have any of you got a strap line for the business? Have any of you as a business got, you know, the strap line that goes with Interaction or Litchfields, or anybody got one? No?
Yeah, I have Paramount, better than Interaction. That's my
Okay. So if you say Paramount, better than Interaction, that's just going to annoy Charlie. Right? But in reality, have any of you got a strap line that defines what your business is? You know, like McDonald's, I'm loving it, Nike, just do it, etc. Is there anything that defines Artworks or Urbanists or Integrals? A few of you on from different places. Have you got a strap line that does that?
We used to have one. We used to use decorative branding. Branding decorative solutions to the entire interior sector, but we've had a rebrand and we're kind of reworking it at the moment. So
you're working on whatever that might be. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'll tell you what, I do 3 things that no one cares about. That includes me, by the way. I do training, coaching, and consultancy, and I'm bored telling you, and you're bored listening. So I never use those, but I talk about inspiring performance excellence. So when someone says to me, tell me about your business, Nick, I say, we're all about inspiring performance excellence. So we do it with individuals, we do it with teams, or we do it with businesses. And that's where I start. That's my why, my reason for being. This is a little sort of just a little bit of information, and to help you with a simple pitch, and I'll explain shortly. The how is the process by which you would engage me, what I call the how do you deliver your impact, or maybe what you think about in terms of onboarding a client. So the how is usually things like action-orientated words. We will assess, we'll evaluate, we will recommend, we'll implement, we'll deliver, we'll review, those kind of words about how you work as an organization. What you do is dead easy. It's the job title, it's the services you provide. I work with a client in your sector, they're an M&E contractor. So when someone says, what do you do? If you start with, I'm an M&E contractor, or we're an architect's practice or a design studio, that's the wrong way to start. You start with the why, go to the how, and finish on the what. And the reason you need a screen share is because you're going to use some kind of visual impact to demonstrate that. Now, let me just explain. There's 28 people around the Yorkshire, what's it called? The Yorkshire, Brand Yorkshire it was called. That was 28 people. I'm sat, I was probably going to go 20th, the way the room was set out and the Zoom was set out. And sitting listening, people are going, my name is Trevor, we're an architect's practice. My name's James and we're an independent so-and-so. My name's Alison and it's like, yeah, okay, same. When it came to mine, I'd asked in advance, can I have a screen share? I said, yeah, no problem, you have a screen share. And all I did was, I thought, right, I'm the only one doing it so far. And I just showed them this decal. And this decal was all about what we were doing at the time, and we're still doing now, is our online learning academy. The outside circle is what we do. The middle circle is how we do it. The inner circle is why. So when it came to we had 2 minutes, I just pinged this up, not with the extra bits around, just ping that decal up. And I said, my name's Nick Bramley and I run IMPACTUS Group, and I'm going to talk to you about IMPACTUS Online. We provide accessible, inspiring content that's expertly hosted and delivered. We're all about inspiration. We're all about delivery and content. So how we do that is we'll create content that you require. We'll deliver the content, we'll inspire your audience, and we'll evaluate the feedback and how that works. We've got 3 ways of delivering that. We've got the Sales Academy, Emerging Talent Leaders Academy, and an Established Leaders Academy. And we do it through 3 ways: webinars, workshops, coaching programs. That's a shortened version of that. 1 picture, 1 decal, memorable, because I'm going to send that out as my follow-up. The next person goes, my name's Trevor, I'm an accountant. So think about shared screen. Think about, you can put in there anything you want. You can put in an infographic, you can put in there an animation, you can put in there a piece of video, you can put in there a reference to a case study. So I'm going to ask you a couple of things. First of all, I want you to go away and work on why, and I think CF's working on that already, why Artwork Solutions and not somebody else. But I also want you to work on, genuinely want you to work on, is where's the best version of you? And what I mean by that is, so Daniel at Barkin and Kirby, if you would want to inspire me about Barkin and Kirby, Daniel, where would you take me? Would you take me to your homepage of your website? Would you take me to a YouTube channel? Would you take me to the About Us? Would you take me to some case studies? The Urbanist, would you take me to a piece of video or an animation or an infographic? Because what you want to think about when you go networking online next time is taking control of that screen, putting something up that's visually quite powerful and blowing the socks off everybody else. And people go, that Dave from Artwork was fantastic. Wow, everybody else was dull as hell. Dave was fantastic. I remember Dave, he was the guy who talked us through that infographic, or he talked us through that decal, that picture. You only need something that's different and visual. So where's the best version of you? I'll take Hannah again. Hannah, Litchfields. What are Litchfields? Law firm? Sound like a law firm.
No, we're a planning consultancy. Okay,
that's fine. So planning consultancy. Where's the best version of Litchfields? If you want to drop me somewhere into a Litchfields sort of content pot, would it be your homepage of your website? Would it be a certain part of your website that's not the homepage? Would it be your client base that you want to show off? Look at how we work with. It doesn't matter, but where do you think you would say your best version of you is?
Well, there's a section on the website with our biggest and sort of what we consider to be kind of the best projects that we've worked on. Probably that.
Brilliant. Now, yeah. if you took the screenshot of that website as your 2-minute pitch for Hannah, and you could talk people through what's on that website, that's much more memorable than going, I'm Hannah from Litchfields, we're a planning consultancy. Think about the impact of what you can deliver. And that's why you need in advance to say to Rox and Sully, hi, Sully's daughter, you want to be able to say to people, can I have a screen share, please? If they won't give you a screen share, why not? It's dead easy. The technology exists. Why wouldn't you do that? Can you see the power and the difference of that compared to just all going around doing your 2 minutes? So think about your why and think about where's the best version of you. I'll go to Maria. Maria, Integral Engineers, where's the best version of Integral Engineers? Where, a bit like Hannah said, she'd take me to, their case studies of their greatest projects. Where would you take me from an Integral Engineers perspective?
It'd probably be a fly through of a 3D model of a building that we're working on.
You see that? I mean, you can't talk about a 3D model in the same way as I can experience it, can you? So even if you said, we've got a great 3D model of a piece of work we're working on, and you said it physically, nowhere near the same as giving me a fly through. So it's that kind of impact piece. I'd also say the same thing, by the way, when you get to thinking about going face to face, is try and take something with you that's more than just your business card. Try and take something with you that gives you, some visual impact to support the why. So that decal I've got that on a sort of slightly bigger postcard thing, and I pass that out to people and I talk them through it and I walk them through it. That just happens to be my sort of 3-way why, how, and what piece, really. Okay. So online networking, improve your name, put your details on, take some control, show some visuals, understand the platform, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, and stand out from the crowd. Use chat, scrape chat at the end, and use that as your follow-up. That's absolutely simple wins and quick wins. I guarantee now that if I was in a networking situation, not a classroom training situation, I would want to know what Barkin and Kirby are about. I'm fascinated by the Urbanists because there's 3 of you on here, and I don't know what the Urbanists do. Any one of you I'd be talking to about, tell me what the Urbanists are. Artwork Solutions, we've got 2 people on there. interaction and Sully, why do you hate each other? I'd be interested, I'd be intrigued, you know. So all those things, and I don't know what Buckley Grey Yeoman are, but because it's there, I can have a conversation. It's a conversation starter, which is what networking is about. Okay, so are we happy with online, some quick wins on online and doing it differently and better? Yeah. And think about the formats and just see if you have to hijack it, then at least you're getting out of it what you want to get out of it. Okay, so let's go to face-to-face networking. It will come back at some stage. Can you remember when we could do that? Remember when we were allowed to meet people in a room and just shake? I mean, I'm not even sure the handshake's ever going to come back. You can judge people on a handshake. Can you judge people on an elbow bump? You know, oh, he's got quite a firm handshake. Oh, her elbow bump's a bit weak. I don't know what we do about that going forward. I'm not sure where we're going to get back to in terms of that. But the same things apply. You need to make an impact on here as well. So let's talk about making an impact in a room. This is, again, some just top tips, really. Treat networking in a room particularly as short bursts meetings. You're allowed to move around. You should move around. But what you shouldn't do is just flit around from person to person. I'm talking to Roxanne. She's not relevant to me. Roxanne, I'm going to leave you to it. Off I go. You can't do that. Oh, I've flitted across to Andrew. Andrew's not for me either. You're not that guy. You can't be that person. But you can move around in a networking situation. Think about the output. The output is basically, is this worthy of having a coffee and a follow-up or not? And if it's not, that's absolutely fine. That goes down to the type of people you're going to meet, the type of network you're going to go to. You're going to meet more relevant people with a strategy which says, some of the people I want to meet in my sweet spot are in this room. That's fine. Some are just not. So, you know, you wouldn't go to a general Chamber of Commerce event and expect to meet a land manager from a big PLC construction company, because the chance of a land manager from a PLC construction company being in a generic general Chamber of Commerce event, pretty slim. If the Chamber of Commerce run a construction lunch for construction professionals, that's a different ball game. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, you go into a room full of people, you can hear the noise, 20, 30, 40 people. You can hear a clink of glass, the murmur of people behind the door. You've arrived at the venue. The doors are shut. You're about to open the doors to this murmuring noise and a glass of wine and whatever. How many of you have got some level of nerves or apprehension or anxiousness? Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Any nerves, apprehension? Yeah, I get that a lot. So probably 95% of you. So here's the thing you can do. Blame your parents. Blame your parents. I'm going to pick on Sully because your daughter came through. How old's your daughter, Sully? Unmute bottom left. There we go. You knew that. You knew that anyway. How old's your daughter, Sully?
She's 8.
Okay. What do you tell an 8-year-old about strangers?
Well, it depends, doesn't it?
Well, I hope not. Don't talk to them for a start. Don't get in the van. Don't talk to strangers. And I'll be honest with you, I did this internationally, and there was a German guy on this call. He went, "Be kind to them." I was like, "That's a weird thing to tell your kids. Be kind to strangers." As you're getting dragged in the, "Oh, your van's nice and clean, isn't it? That's really nice. Thank you for kidnapping me in the van. It's a lovely van. I'm really pleased that you've kidnapped." Don't talk to strangers, and stranger, beware. Beware of strangers. That's you. Please tell me you're telling your kids that. Now, that's why people don't like going networking, because you had it drummed into you from a very small age. Don't talk to strangers. Then you get a job and they go, "There's 50 people you've never met in a room. Good, that'll be good. You'll enjoy yourself in there." That's why the apprehension's there and the nerves are there. It's not natural to go into a room full of strangers when we've had it drummed into us that strangers can only be, well, challenging at the challenging. I'll go with challenging, Sully. We'll go with challenging. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever said to Bonnie, "Don't talk to strangers." That's why I didn't answer that way. My wife has.
I'll be honest with you. You're being judged on this call there, Sully. You're being judged, man. You're being judged by people.
I've never had the talk with her. Yeah.
Right. Well, so I'm glad, as long as your wife's had the talk with, that's absolutely fine. Okay. I'm not saying that all strangers are dangerous, but you've got to be, that's what we told as kids. Don't talk to strangers, danger. Now, it's important that you understand that 90% of people feel the same. Why is it a good thing? Why is it a good thing that 95% of people, 90% of people are nervous of strangers and probably feel the same? I'll go to Lauren. Lauren, why do you think it's a good thing that everybody else feels nervous and apprehensive in a room?
You're all on the same foot, I guess. You're all.
Yeah, that's a good start. You're on the same boat.
Yeah.
Any other ideas? Anybody want to share me? Put a hand up and tell me why you think it's a good thing.
They're probably relieved if you do the start talking bit.
Oh, Maria, see, we're in the presence of greatness there, ladies and gentlemen. Maria, fabulous answer. Okay. Most people's fear is rejection. Most people go on network and think, what if no one wants to talk to me? What if I'm stood on my own? What if I approach someone and they say no? The chance, me approaching Marie and go, do you mind if I join you? And her being nervous and apprehensive and her going, well, I'd rather you didn't. I'd rather stand here on my own like a lemon, thank you very much, is never going to happen. There's a thing about fear of rejection versus actual rejection. I've never, ever approached someone at a networking event and said, do you mind if I join you in the right way? And they've gone, I'd rather you didn't. I did do it once. I was doing some work with, you've heard of Turner and Townsend? Turner and Townsend? Did some work with Turner and Townsend years ago in Birmingham. And I did a session on networking in the afternoon for 8 of their senior people. And then they were going to a big construction event. It was a Galliford Try Christmas party, but it was actually in January. So my view was it was in construction, so it was late and probably over budget. I didn't say that. But basically, I watched these 8 people work, and I couldn't just go into a networking event with 300 people and think, well, I can't just stand here. So I approached this guy at the bar, and he looked like me now with a beard and whatever. This was years ago. He looked like he had the worst, you know, when someone's got a black cloud, cartoon black cloud over them. And I was like, I approached him and said, do you mind if I join you? And his reaction, he looked me up and down, he went, I don't even know you. Like in that really horrible, I was like, oh, I said, well, surely that's the point. He went, do you know who I am? I went, no, but I'm really looking forward to getting to know you. He didn't get sarcasm or irony or any of that kind of thing. But the reality is most people will go, do you mind if I join you? Please do. So the reality of feeling nervous is never matched by the actual execution of that, okay? So what you got to think about is, what's your headline characteristic? Not surprisingly, I'm quite confident. I've done loads of networking. I've run networks. I've been a guest, whatever. But I don't want to come across as a confident networker because 95% of people are not. So I don't want to come across and go, right, I'm here now, watch this. Because people just go, oh, what an absolute prick. I don't want to be the guy who becomes, hey, Dave, you're not very good at networking. I'm really good. Watch this. You're going to think, first reaction is like, whoa, I'm really humble when I network. I go, a lot of people here, isn't it? It's quite nerve-wracking. I'm joining the people on the same journey, in the same path. So be careful that even if you're confident and comfortable, you don't come across as that confident and comfortable because it's not natural to be that. Okay. Tactical first approach. I can't tell. Height. Any of you ladies petite, as in height? How many of you have you got any 5'3" and 5'4"? You're all quite tall. Look, it's okay. I often say you got a little petite 5'3", 5'4" young lady or lady approaching 6'4" blokes is not where you start. As you don't walk up and go, this will work. Do you mind if I join you? So whatever. Look for someone to start off with who's got a nice smiley face, who's looking welcoming. Probably your similar age group. Maria, you know, you look a lot younger than me. The chance of you approaching me at a network event, I'll start with him. You're better off starting with someone who's probably your similar age because you might have more in common. It gets you off to a better start. I'm lovely, by the way, at the networking event, but you wouldn't know that. You'd look and go, I don't want to talk to him first. I'll talk to someone who I might have something in common. It's about getting off to a good start, okay? So the approach you make at networking is, do you mind if I join you? How hard that question? How hard is that question? Not difficult, is it? You don't go up and go, so I go, hi, I'm Nick. Charlie, what's the capital of Bolivia? I'm not trying to catch you out or anything. I'm not trying to get you. I'm just saying, do you mind if I join you? Most people go, please do. Or I'm just about to pardon my nose, I'm waiting for a colleague, but actually, please do. So make a tactical first approach and think about who you want to talk to. The other thing within a room, how many are you all on LinkedIn? Put your hands up if you're not on LinkedIn. I'm assuming because you're in professional sort of services and white collar professional around construction, etc., that you probably are. on LinkedIn, if you look on the phone app and you go to your contacts, there's two little heads, two little blue heads. If you click on there in a room, it will tell you who else is connected on that room. It won't work now if you're on your own, but you click on that little two heads and it'll say, oh, in this room also on their Bluetooth, we've got Siaf, we've got Hannah, we've got James, we've got Jamie, Lauren, and you can connect with people in the room using the technology that's available to you. And you've also got on your app, just work your way around it on your app, you've got a little QR code. So if someone wants your details, just ask them to scan your QR code. Phones do it all the time now these days. So show me QR code, connected. It's easier than me asking you to type it in, Charlie, or giving you a business card, or saying to Dave, yeah, you spell Bramley like the apple, Dave. It's B-R-A. Just do the QR code on that basis. So I'm just going to talk about moving around the room very, very briefly, because we're not going to be doing it for a while and you'll forget. But the reality is you can't be stuck with someone. So I'm going to pick on Roxanne, okay? Because Roxanne's the host or co-host. I don't know what I don't know what the politics are. But Roxanne was one invited me, so I'll pick on Roxanne. Roxanne and I are in conversation. At the end of the conversation, 5-10 minutes, I've got to move. I've got to get away from Roxanne. Not because Roxanne's boring, because it's not fair on Roxanne for me to stay in that conversation. Rox is the boss. That's good. He's putting that out. We like that he knows his place there, Rox, don't we? So I've had a conversation with Roxanne and I need to get away from Roxanne. What I can't do at the end of the conversation, I've spent 7, 8, 10 minutes building a rapport. How are you? Asking you about your business, telling me about yourself, etc. I've told you a bit about me. I can't go, well, it's been lovely, Roxanne. Enjoy the rest of the evening and walk away. Because all I've done there is I've left you as badly as you're off in the first place, nervous, apprehensive, and on your own. So I've got to do something with Roxanne. I've got to say to her at the end of the conversation, it's been really nice talking to you, Roxanne. I'll tell you what, do you fancy going to meet some people? You might say, I'm okay, thanks, Nick. Or you might go, yeah, I'd love to. So I'm looking around the room physically for someone else stood on their own. And Andrew from Buckley Grey Home, and we don't know us from Buckley Grey Home. We don't even call his Andrew at this stage. He stood on his own. So we then approach them and go, hi, I'm Nick. Do you mind if we join you? And you go, no, please do. I say, this is Roxanne. I'm Andrew. Start the conversation again. I call that parking. I stay in the conversation with Roxanne and the new guy or the new lady. And at the end of that conversation, I then say, it's been great to meet you. Whatever we've agreed to do, I'll send you the information, whatever it might be. Thanks for your time. And I can back away because I can leave them together. I'm not responsible for everyone in the room. At the end of the night, you don't want a conga of everyone you've ever met coming around the network with you and go, do you want to come networking? 16 of us now. We've got the biggest group in the room. So I'm going to leave Roxanne with Andrew. So that's called parking. Let's assume that you go networking with a group of people that you know quite well. I'm going to talk to you about a bit of fun, and it's called dumping. So Siaf, you and I are good mates. I know you quite well. I've met you loads of times, and I've met this guy called Charlie Moss from Interaction. I don't leave Charlie on his own, but I need to take him somewhere, and you're on your own. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go, Charlie, do you want to go networking, meet a few people? He's going to say yes. I'm looking around the room. I find Siaf. I go, Siaf, how are you doing? Nice to see you again, because we're friends and we know each other. Oh, hi, Nick. Yeah, chat. Listen, Siaf, this is Charlie from Interaction. We're having a real good chat about stuff. And he doesn't know anybody in the network. And I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll introduce him to you because you know loads of people. And I thought he'd be in great hands with you, Siaf. So Charlie, this is Siaf. Siaf's a great guy. I'm going to lead you to it. I'll catch up with you later. Because I don't want to stay with Charlie, who's really dull. And I don't really like you, Siaf, but I just want to dump him on you. I'm not saying that that's the case. But I want to leave Charlie in a better position than he was. And you're still talking to someone who you weren't talking to before. But I don't stay in the conversation. I class that as dumping. I've gone and dumped and buggered off to find my next one. I'm looking around the room and go, oh, there's a guy over there looks on his own. Daniel. I don't go and talk to Daniel. Or Daniel, I'll finish the conversation with you. We'll go and have a chat to Lauren. It's little movements around the room. Simple as that. Little movements. Treating people with respect. Don't leave someone on their own. Don't leave someone that you've built a relationship with feeling embarrassed or awkward. It's been lovely to meet you, Michelle. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Michelle's going, oh, cheers. Thanks. It's like, oh, great. You spent 10 minutes showing an interest in the urbanist. You weren't that bloody interested. You've gone now, haven't you? Thanks for that. So all that good work has gone. Okay. I'm just going to finish with a couple of things about pairs and groups, okay, very briefly. When I do this physically in a classroom situation, I'll take two people at random. So I'll say, James Ellett and Lauren Phillips, could you stand up for me like you stand at a networking event? And invariably, they'll stand like that. So you can't, that's at an angle. So it's not face to face. They'll stand at a slightly open angle. That's how most people stand at networking. So what that's saying is, from this angle, James is saying it's okay to join us. And from that angle, Lauren's saying the same as well. She's basically, you're an open pair. What that means is, I'm going to say, do you mind if I, when everyone's paired up, so do you mind if I join you? Hope you don't mind. They're going to say, please do. So you're looking for an open pair. You're looking for the science of people who are stood at slightly open angles. Now, if they're standing like that, physically, what they've done is they've gone into a more deep and meaningful conversation. And they're basically saying, don't join us yet. And you do it naturally. And I can't remember the last time I said to people, stand up as you were standing at a networking event, and they don't stand, they all stand like that. So you're looking for people to join, and you're doing it. I dropped my shoulder. I didn't know. I did it like a hunchback. Do you mind if I join you? Oh, I'm ever so humble. Do you mind if I join you? But I do say, do you mind if I join you? And they say, please do. What you're not doing then is you're not dominating the conversation. I'm waiting for James and Lauren to continue their conversation. They'll probably say, oh, we were just talking about whatever it was, which is great, but I'm not going to dive all over that conversation. I feel honoured to be invited into your two to make it a nice three, but it's not about me, it's still about you two. Does that make sense as well? Approaching an open pair to make it a three. And most groups technically are just pairs that have been thrown together by the size of the room. So as the room gets busier and bigger, most people are then, a pair becomes a 4 or a 5 or a 6. So let's finish with some quick do's and don'ts on networking, physically or otherwise. Don't be afraid of asking for help from the organisers. I've made a list of the people on my delegate list. Dave from Artwork Solutions is interesting to me, and Charlie Moss is interesting to me from Interactive. Are either of them here yet? Well, no, they're not. Oh, when they come, would you let them know I'd like to speak to them? Charlie gets there. Oh, there's a guy called Nick's looking for you. Okay, where is he? Oh, he's wearing the same as everybody else, a grey suit and a white shirt. He's got a standout shirt on, you can't miss him. So ask the organizer to help you to tick off some of the people on your list. Don't give them a list of 10. Just say, I've got 2 or 3 people I'd like to meet. I went to an event once, and I was doing some work with law firms, and there was a guy from a law firm in Leeds on the list. And I said, oh, is he here yet? And the girl said, no. I said, well, when he comes, you let him know I'd like to meet him. So I'm in conversation with a couple of people. This guy sort of hovered around. He went, excuse me, he said, are you Nick Bramley? I said, yeah. So I'm James from, I can't remember the name of the law firm. He said, you wanted to meet me? I said, oh, yeah, I do. He said, oh, no one ever wants to meet me. And that was his opening line. I thought, well, what a great start, though. He feels happy. I feel happy. And I've ticked one off my list of 4 or 5 people. Set yourself a little target to measure success. And a bit like you said there, Sully, at the start, you know, I've got one opportunity to follow up for a conversation, or a coffee, or a discussion, or whatever it might be. Wear something that stands out. I'm going to give ladies fashion advice. It's the only bit I can give you. Wear some accessories. That's it. I'm hardly Gok 1, am I really, to be fair? Wear something that stands out. Bright green, bright red, something, you know, women have got much more opportunity to accessorize than men, but hey, let's not be judgmental. If Charlie wants to wear a lime green scarf, then, you know, wear a lime green scarf, Charlie, whatever works for you. Okay. Ask open questions, you know, who, what, why, where, when, how, what you're working on, how's business, you know, what does 2021 look like for you? Tell me about some of the interesting projects you've got going on, that kind of thing. Take something to write notes on, because you don't want to. The only thing I say there is, don't scroll on someone's business card. It's very rude. I'm going to say to you, who can remember the first ever business card they got? Go on, give us an example. Can you remember your first ever business card? I'm looking at some of you, it was last week, wasn't it? Some of you little young'uns on here. How many, do you remember your first business card? And it's like a piece of you. Why would you let someone write on it? How would you say to somebody, do you mind if I make a note of that? Maria's going to tell me this is the person I need to speak to at Integral Engineers, is whoever it might be. I don't want to scroll all over your business card, Maria. I'll just make a note of that. So Maria was very kind. Thank you very much. I'm not going to write on your business card. I'm not going to graffiti a piece of your life that you're proud of. Prepare your follow-up in advance. There's only a few things that you're going to follow up, which basically are Great to meet you. Not likely to do business, but you never know. Great to meet you. Here's the information I promised. Great to meet you. Let's have the coffee. Here's the date of the Zoom call or the coffee meeting. Simple as. So have some templates ready, because if you get back to the office physically when you've been out networking, you never get around to your follow-up. I go to networking and never get followed up by 90% of people. What's the point in going if you're not going to follow people up? Get there early. It's much less daunting. You know, if you're nervous and apprehensive, if there's 60 people in the room, the first few people don't know there's 6 people in the room because there's only 4 people in the room. You'll get to 60 when you're in there, but it doesn't feel anywhere near the same as walking into 60. Don't plan to rush off. What if you meet the person who's the most important person in your opportunity pipeline, and you go, actually, I wouldn't mind discussing that with you if that's okay, Andrew. And Andrew goes, oh, sorry, I've got to get away, thanks. Thinking, well, just allow a bit of time at the end of a networking. Take something with you that stands out like you would on a screen. Practice your 1-minute pitch. Why should I do business with you? How do you actually work? What do you do? But in that order. Don't start with your job title. It's predictable, it's pedestrian, it's what everybody else does. So be different and be memorable. Have a small target list of contacts, 2 or 3, maybe even less than that potentially. And the last thing is collect your business cards or your data. Be prepared to follow up in a timely manner. Include, if you've pitched on a Zoom call, include your pitch visual. So the link to the website that you mentioned earlier for your best version of you for your case studies, include that in your follow-up. Suggest what you want from the output. Connect on LinkedIn if you haven't done so, and then just follow up professionally until you get some level of traction. So the thing is with this, it's not about doing something that's physically difficult. It's about being professional. It's about treating others as you'd like to be treated yourself. It's about thinking, have I been polite, respectful? Have I demonstrated an interest in them? So when I'm talking to Michelle at the Urbanist, I genuinely am interested in the Urbanist. Tell me a bit more. How does it work? What you're doing? What kind of jobs? Who do you work with? How can I help you? You know, trying to be helpful. And then Michelle will go, oh, Nick's a helpful guy. Don't know if he's any good at his job, but if someone's looking for what Nick does, I'd say, well, he's a nice guy. The worst I can do is say he's a nice guy. You work out for yourself, he's good at what he does. And that's what it's about. You don't want to be the person who's remembered for being that person. There was a guy, last finished story, there was a guy at a network event. One of my clients had a 5th birthday for their business. It was about 6 or 7 years ago, and I still remember it to this day. They'd hired a bar in Leeds, and it was a 5th birthday party. There's loads of people there who've been involved in their journey to that 5 years. And I knew some, I didn't know many. I was talking to this lady, and she's now a good friend of mine called Claire Morley-Jones. And Claire, I didn't know her at the time. And I said, so Claire, what are you up to? She said, I've just set up my own HR consultancy business. Said, brand new, 3 months in, quite nerve-wracking. You know, I'm doing some HR with Brighter Marketing, which is the company that we're with. And I'm just getting to know a bit of networking. She's now very successful. Anyway, this guy came out of nowhere and boom. So what do you do then? And my opening line was, I like to finish conversations with people before inviting strangers to dive in, but, you know, never mind. And he went, no, what do you do? So I told him what I did, and he went, right. And what do you do? And he's like really aggressive. And Claire said, well, I've just set up a HR consultancy business. And he said, I swear not, I'll tell you now. He said, well, you better close that down. I just stopped. I went, bye, you're good at this, you, aren't you? And he went, what do you mean? He said, you're good at this. Why should you close her business down? I said, I run the biggest one in Leeds. I don't like competition. I said, well, if you're as good at networking as you are at running your business, this time next year, she'll be buying you out. And we just did the closed pair and carried on. I still remember the name of the other guy. I won't tell you it. And I still remember he had shark eyes, nothing behind them. He had a dead body under the patio, I can guarantee. He absolutely had a dead body under the patio. Don't be that guy. Don't be that lady. Just be memorable for being normal. Last thing I want to say to you is be yourself. It's very hard to put on an act. People at networking, some of the best networkers I've met embrace things like shyness or embrace a bit of nervousness. So I'll pick on, it doesn't really matter. Let's go Daniel. So let's say Daniel's naturally quiet or shy, or you're a reflector, you know, you don't like life. And so I'd embrace that, Daniel. I'd go, yeah, I'm Daniel from Barkin and Kirby. I said, not really comfortable at these things. I'm quite nervous. That's fine. Embrace that. Let people know, because no one's judging you. No one's say, no, that Daniel's a bit quiet, isn't he? You know, if you're quiet and shy and reserved or a little bit nervous, let people know. People will be very supportive of that. What you don't want to do is try and pretend not to be, because you get found out. A, you won't enjoy it, and B, you're playing somebody else's character for however long the networking event runs. So hopefully, I mean, it's packed with stuff in there. I'll send you a copy of the slide deck that goes with it. I've sort of referred to partway through, and you've had there's a recording that's going to go into it. Are you making it into a podcast, Roxanne?
Yeah, that was the plan. So if anyone's got any like objections, I think we'll mainly keep Nick in. But if you've got any particular objections to being on that, just drop me an email, and I'll make sure I can edit you out.
What I would say before you do anything else is go into chat. Just put the cursor somewhere, Control and A, Control and C, and open a Word document and drop it in there. And then you've all got all the follow-ups you need from today. If you need them, and I'm not saying you do need them, I'm not saying you want to use all of them, but if you do, then you've got them. So that is one of my biggest takeaways is that's your business card exchange done. And you can choose what you want to do with it from there. It's entirely up to you. So they're all there. Okay. Any questions? Have you enjoyed that, by the way? Has it been useful?
Yeah, really useful. And I just want to say, you know, on behalf of FFT and probably everyone here, thanks very much for your time this evening, because you've kindly given us his time for free today, which is, you know, really good of him. And as well, if anyone wants to use IMPACTUS in the future, then Nick, has everyone got a way of getting in touch with you?
On the slide deck, I've put a direct link to the website, direct link to my LinkedIn profile and stuff. So if you get the slide deck through, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, no problem. If you put Nick Bramley in LinkedIn, I come ahead of a guy who runs a tiling business in Warrington. So I'm the guy from IMPACTUS Group in York. If you want your tiles doing, connect with Nick Bramley from Warrington. He'll do a good deal on some tiling, I think. But I think he used to be right level with me. I think he stopped being on. He's definitely not. He used to come up sometimes with him first and me first. I'm smashing him out the park on LinkedIn search engines now. Don't know why, but if you want some tiling, he's the guy in Warrington. Anyway, there you go. So thank you. Thanks for being willing participants and also putting up with my slightly crass jokes about sort of hostage videos and sitting in the dark and things. You know, it's just a bit of fun, really. So hopefully that'll be good. And make sure that you always keep your names as you've got them now to stand out so much better than they did before. Yeah. So
I have a question actually, Nick. So going into when we're networking in real life, like especially breakfast mornings, there tends to be a session of speakers. So like, what do you do in terms of finding? Do you sit next to someone you want to sit next to, or when you're talking to someone, they say, right, can everyone take their seats? Do you sit with that person? Like that can sometimes be a bit awkward. Like finding the right seat.
Goes back to your plan, really. You know, if you go into a breakfast event, let's say typically 40 people, there might be 4 or 5 round tables. You get a bacon sandwich, a cup of tea or coffee, and I'm meandering around getting a coffee and a drink in this sort of stand-up breakout area. Then they'll say, please all take a seat. I don't mind looking and saying, there's the guy or lady I want to sit. I'm going to follow them to the table that they're sat on. Absolutely no problem. And you know, what you don't do is go, I'm not sitting with you. You don't sort of leave the people you're not sitting with in an obvious way where you're going, I'm leaving you. You just surreptitiously move to where you want to sit. You've got to get the best out of it for you. And as long as you do it politely and professionally, I just do it that way. Yeah. The other thing I'd say to all of you, by the way, put your name down to speak. If you've got a story to tell and your network is full of people that you want to inspire, the one-to-many route is brilliant. So Dave from Artworks and Daniel from Barkin and the team from Urbanists, any one of you said, right, let's say the Urbanists, one of you want to speak at an event, you've got the room. You've absolutely got the room for 20 minutes, an hour, 40 minutes, wherever it might be. And the organisers are desperate for speakers. So why not put your hand up and go, I wouldn't mind doing 20 minutes. If you've got something to tell, a nice story, and the room, it's brilliant. Most of my business comes from what I call one-to-many. So I'm speaking at an event, conference or whatever it might be. People come up afterwards and go, oh, could you you do that. This came from that, didn't it, Roxanne? I know I'm doing it for free, but I did the thing for the young entrepreneurs in property, and it was in Leeds, wasn't it? Well, it was national, but and Roxanne was on it. She said, "Oh, I think our members would really appreciate that." That's how it works, really. Can you put yourself out there? So if you've got a story to tell, put your hands up, volunteer. Desperate for speakers, desperate for speakers. It might be just a case study. It might be just something that you've done that's really different or interesting, or a take you've got on something that's happening in your industry, or you might be a specialist or an expert in something. Put your hand up. Honestly, they'll bite your arm off. They'll bite your arm off. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, I've got a question, Nick.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for the presentation. I'm definitely going to share with my colleagues about putting our company in the name. That's really helpful. I just wondered if you had any tips about when you join a meeting, and they're all video meetings like this at the minute. Is there anything that you can do to kind of break the ice when it's 10 faces staring back at you?
It depends what's happening when you get in the room. I always like to get in the room early, and because if you're in there early, you can welcome people as they arrive before they get paired into conversation. So if you walked into this room now physically from a waiting room, you've got 12 people, 13 people. Chances are Lauren might be talking to James, but because it's in this kind of environment, if Lauren's talking to James, no one else can talk. So because Jamie then can't talk to Daniel because he's talking over Lauren, who's James is listening to. So getting there early, I don't know if you realised when you came into the room, I did that to a certain extent. There was myself, Sully and Roxanne in the room, and all I did was engage people as they came in the room. That's the biggest tip I can give you on an online. Get there early and become not a co-host. Don't dominate, but so let's say you're in there and Siath comes in and you just go, "Oh, hi Siath, I'm Marie from Integral Engineers." We can see that because it's got a good name on that basis. So nice to see you, whatever it might be. And you can do that. You can become the hostess with the mostess without actually being your event sometimes, Maria. But you have to get there early to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? So thank you. Have you got snow? You're down in the southwest, are you? Have you got any snow down in Bristol and Cardiff?
We had a few flakes earlier in Bristol when I was out for my walk at lunchtime, but I don't think it's settled.
No.
There was some in London the other day, and the only reason I know is because it was on the bloody news. Every time there's a bit of snow in London, it's on the national news, isn't it? You get snow all the time in the north of England, but it never gets mentioned. But there's a flake of snow landed in Surrey, so we'll put that on before COVID and impeachment of Donald Trump. One flake of snow hits Kent. So yeah, we've had a bit up here, which is quite nice. So there you go. Thanks, folks. Been great to meet you. Thanks for putting up with some of the sort of crunching jokes and reference points. And I'm going to pick on one more. Daniel, just a quick question on your video camera. Have you put sort of a filter on there, or have you rubbed Vaseline on the screen? It just you're really quite blurry there. So that's maybe you just need to clean. I don't know. You need to clean with your thumb at the end of a day. Cloth, Daniel. Maybe a cloth. Anyway, so. Thank you, folks. We'll see you soon. And if you want anything towards the podcast or recording, Roxanne, I'll send you the slides in the morning, and you've got them. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Rox, you'll send an email to everyone, won't you, with the slides copied in?
Yeah, I'll probably get Sophie at FBE to do it because she's got everyone's emails. But yeah, we'll get it sent out to everybody.
Excellent. Okay. Cheers, folks.
Great.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.